how to manage remote employees. I uploaded a previous video, I'll link it right here, about adding employees to your business, and in that video I mentioned that a hybrid model or remote work is really the future of employment. That's why I want to tell you, how do you manage those remote employees? How do you manage remote team members? A few years ago, no one really talked about remote work or hybrid model, but fast forward to today, everyone talks about it. It's almost like it's a must-do for a brand to offer a hybrid model or remote work. That's why it's super important that managers, supervisors, and business owners in general know how to manage remote employees. And you guys know I am a chief marketing officer in my daytime job. I oversee a team of over 30 people, and I know what it takes to manage remote employees because most of our team is remote. They're out of state and they're even out of the country. So I know what it takes to manage remote employees, and I'm going to share all my knowledge in this video. I show all my tips and tricks and guidance that you can implement immediately to manage your remote team way more efficiently. So let's dive right in. Managing remote employees can definitely be tricky, especially if they are out of state, and it can also be tricky if you never managed any remote employees before. And when it comes to effectively managing remote employee, it really comes down to a clear and regular communication with those team members. Establish regular communication with your remote team members, whether this is daily check-ins or weekly meetings. In those meetings, you really want to make sure that all your remote team members are on the same page and they understand their weekly goals and they understand their responsibilities. Those weekly meetings and daily check-ins will also give you the chance to see if there are any issues coming up. So for example, internet outages or equipment that doesn't work. Whenever your remote team member has any issues, whether it's my internet is out or my equipment broke down, my laptop doesn't work anymore, these issues need to be raised immediately to their manager or their supervisor so they can be fixed within a timely manner. Another important part in managing remote employees efficiently is by setting clear expectations. When you hired your employee, of course, you onboarded them, you told them these are your responsibilities, this is your job title, this is what we expect from you. But especially if people used to work in the office and now they're being transitioned into either hybrid model or remote work, you need to put an emphasis on these are your responsibilities, this is what we're going to expect from you. Number 3, and I think this is a really important part, are lunch schedules. I recommend introducing lunch schedules, especially if you have a larger team. Lunch schedules will help you to understand when a person is on lunch and when a person is supposed to work. So for example, I oversee a sales team and we need constant coverage for potential clients to call our business, to call the law firm. So I have to make sure that my sales team is not on lunch all at the same time, leaving our clients high and dry. That's why it's important to have lunches that are stacked. So for example, the first group is going to lunch, let's say at 12 p.m. and they're coming back at 12:30. I give all of my team members a 5 to 10 minute wiggle room in case they're on the call or something came up, but they should definitely stay within those 5 to 10 minutes and their lunch schedule. If you have stacked lunches or if you have a lunch schedule in place, it will make managing remote employees so much easier. Number 4, use collaboration tools. And by collaboration tools, I mean tools such as like Microsoft Teams, Skype, Slack, or Zoom, whatever tool you're using for your business, really implement this for your remote employees. So it's important to utilize all those features. For example, Teams and Slack and Skype, you can use them for direct messaging, you can use it for video calls. And it's really important to continue to funnel a day-to-day conversation via those channels. So for example, in the morning, you want to go, let's say you have a Teams chat or you have a Slack chat, you want to go onto those channels and say good morning to everyone, just like what you would do if that person would work with you in the office. So even though they're remote, you still want to treat them as if they would be in the office. You're just going to use technology to do that. And whenever you're talking to a remote team member, I always recommend calling people via video chat. Don't call them via the phone, call them via video chat. Make sure you turn the camera on, make sure that your team member is turning the camera on. This will not only allow you to really establish a better connection. It makes them feel like they're belonging to the team, they're part of the team. It helps to see someone's facial expressions, especially if you want to talk about a topic that's a little bit more sensitive. And number 5, constantly provide feedback. Providing feedback, and I recommend providing that feedback via video call so you can see the person. It will help the person to stay motivated, but also to understand what is not working out and what needs to be improved. And providing regular feedback is really important to efficiently manage your remote team. And if you're unsure how to approach the feedback topic, here are a few tips. Number 1, schedule regular one-on-one meetings. Schedule regular one-on-one meetings to discuss their progress, to discuss things that they succeeding at and things that they're failing at. And then what should they do to overcome those failures and to become better. I recommend that you do weekly check-ins. I would put them on like a Thursday or Friday. Never schedule those meetings on a Monday morning. Monday mornings are way too busy. Should not be reserved for any feedback sessions whatsoever. Use a Thursday, use a Friday, and schedule out some time. I say if it's just a quick feedback, like a weekly or bi-weekly check-in, you can keep those meetings to about 10 to 15 minutes. I also recommend that you schedule out those meetings 2 to 3 months ahead so people know the exact dates when you would be calling them to discuss feedback and both parties can prepare for those meetings. And number 2, use performance metrics. In general, you should always use performance metrics or KPIs, key performance indicators, for any role you have within your team. Some roles are a little bit easier to define those KPIs and some roles are a little bit harder, but see what you can come up with. Each role should have their unique key performance indicators, and during those meetings you would also discuss, during your weekly check-ins, you would discuss those KPIs with your team member. But using performance metrics really helps you to understand whether your remote employee is working out for you, working out for your business, and is happy in the role or not. So it really helps you to efficiently and effectively manage someone. And number 3, provide written feedback. Once you get on a weekly check-in or monthly check-in, however you want to schedule it, whatever you discuss during that meeting, whatever feedback you provide, follow up via email. So you want to sum up everything you talk about in an email to send it to your employee. You have it in writing, they know what to expect, and you have another way to tell your team member, hey, this is what you need to improve. And number 5, encourage open communication. Any business should really encourage open communication, whether you just have 1 employee or 100. In your business, you should tell your team members that it's not a one-way street. So it's not just you giving them feedback, but it should be a 2-way street. You should encourage your team members to also provide feedback, or at least to share their opinions, their thoughts, and their ideas. If you create a culture that is really about open communication, people will be more happy to stay with your business because it's a more positive environment. Number 6, be specific and actionable. When you provide feedback, you want to provide actionable feedback. So you want to point out what is not working out for the team members, what they're falling short, and how they can fix it. If you're just telling them, you're not sending out enough emails, you gotta send out more emails, that is not a great way to provide feedback. This is not helpful for the team member, and it's not going to be helpful for you because your team member doesn't know how to send out more emails. But if you're elaborate more, so for example, if you ask your team member, why are you only sending out 10 emails when you're really supposed to send out 40 emails? What is your process in sending them out? And now let the team member show you what the process of sending out emails. Once you see that, you will probably see things that are not time efficient and not effective. So you can tell your team member, you should do it this way because it's way more effective. In general, when you provide feedback, you always need to tell your team member how to reach the better goal. So for example, if you want them to make more phone calls, if you want them to send out more emails, if you want them to schedule more social media posts, you have to tell your team member from where they're currently at to where you want them to be, how do they get there? You need to tell them the road, how to get there, and that's why you need to be actionable and specific. Number 7, be timely. Provide feedback within a timely manner. So for instance, if you realize that something is not working for employee A, contact employee A as soon as you find out that they're having issues, that they are struggling. Don't wait a week or 2 weeks before you provide any feedback. Feedback should be provided instantly when you see that your team member is struggling. This way, your team member can immediately implement it and everything can be resolved within a timely manner. While the majority of remote team members really work, there's always a team member here and there who slacks. And that's why the reason why I really believe in monitoring softwares that your business can utilize to check in on remote employees. You can use a monitoring software such as Insightful.io. And what is a monitoring software? So you would pre-install the monitoring software on the computer that the team member is using. You can install it on company equipment, but you can also ask your team member to install it on the home computer. But both of these come with different permissions. So for example, if you install it on a company computer, you don't have to tell your team members that you installed a tracking software on the computer. Whereas if they're using their personal equipment, you have to tell them that you want them to install a monitoring software. And the monitoring software takes automatic screenshots, so you can set it up from 1 all the way to 30 screenshots an hour. So the system will automatically take a screenshot of whatever the team member is seeing on the computer. Those softwares track when the computer was turned off, when the computer was shut off, when your team member stepped away from it. So for example, let's say your team member starts at 10 a.m. and then they're working for an hour, but then they are going away for 2 hours. Those tracking softwares will detect that there's no activity on the computer and will report that as well. So monitoring software is really used to see what is the person doing at home, what internet websites are they looking for, but also are they really working? Because all the computer activity from when you opened it to when you closed the computer to how much time are you actively spending on the computer will all be tracked. In my opinion, monitoring softwares are a great way to understand what your remote employees are doing. How much time are they spending on specific tasks, or how much time are they spending on specific websites? And if you see something looks odd, you can definitely call it out. While I do believe in monitoring softwares, of course, I also believe in trusting employees. If there's no trust from your business to your team members, a remote situation or hybrid model is not going to work. You need to trust your team members that they're doing the work at home. Because if you're not trusting your employees, it can quickly turn into micromanaging, and trust me, no one wants to be micromanaged. Set clear expectations, provide feedback, and if needed, rely on the monitoring software to make an assessment on whether the team member is working out for you or not. Establish a clear procedure for remote employees to report any problems they have to you, so those things can be fixed efficiently within a timely manner. Of course, you should also continue to provide training and coaching if someone needs it. Especially if you onboard remote employees, you need to have a clear onboarding process in place. And again, I talked about that process in my video, adding employees to your business. So definitely check it out. You will learn way more about how to onboard remote employees, what type of protocols, what type of documents you should have in place. But generally speaking, even if someone works at your business or for some time already, always provide training or additional coaching if they want it. And my last point when it comes to managing remote employees effectively is be flexible. And of course, be flexible. Take this with a grain of salt, because not every position, not every business can be flexible with their remote employees. So it really comes down, how many remote employees do you have? What type of work are they doing for you? What positions are they in? And what does the communication between you and the remote employee look like? So for example, if you have someone who just writes blog posts for you and you're okay with them working from 6 p.m. to midnight, and it's just a contractor that you have, let them work at that time. Be flexible. But if you have a sales team and your clients are calling from 9 to 6, or 9 to 6 are your opening hours, you cannot be as flexible with your sales team because you need them to be there when your business is open. But again, depending on the position and what they're doing in your business, you can be flexible in terms of work schedules, or you can accommodate different time zones. Keep in mind that not every person is made for remote work, so you definitely want to have those daily check-ins, you want to have weekly feedback rounds, and you want to have an open communication. And if you see that a remote team member does not work out for you, if you have the chance to bring them back into office, you can do that. Or unfortunately, sometimes we also have to cut ties with employees if they're just not working out in a hybrid or in a remote model. I hope you found this video helpful on how to manage remote employees. And that also led us yet again to another episode of the Content Marketing Cheat Sheet podcast. I'm so glad you tuned in today, and I cannot wait to see you next week. Until then, goodbye, or how we say in Germany, auf Wiedersehen.